with his adult daughters, Emma and Lizzie, and also with their maid, Bridget Sullivan. Andrew was a hard man, one who viewed money and the accumulation of it above all else. He lived very frugally, forcing his family to live down below, not up on the hill with the rest of the Fall River elite and with the rest of the Boyden family. While others would have indoor plumbing, he forced his family to use chamber pots and outhouses like common peasants. He was always looking for a way to save a few pennies, buying nearly expired meat. In fact, on the day he was murdered, breakfast was said to have included rancid mutton stew. But all it took was one little axe to change the fate of the Borden family and create one of New England's greatest ghost stories. August 4th, 1892, Andrew leaves the house to go see about some of his business interests. Emma leaves to go visit some friends in Fairhaven, leaving just the maid Bridget behind. She's outside washing some windows. Abby is inside the house in the guest room doing some housework. And Lizzie, well, Lizzie's story changed. Sometimes she was out in the barn looking for sinkers to go fishing. Other times she was back there eating pears. But all that we know is that at one point, someone came up into this room right here on the second floor where Abby was doing the housework, came up behind her, and bludgeoned her to death with a hatchet. Andrew came home a short time later, walked through the front door, went into the sitting room and lay down on the couch to take a nap, as was his daily custom, not realizing that his wife's dead body lay on the floor, just a few feet above his head. He had just barely put his head down and gone to sleep when someone came up behind him and whack! The same fate befell him as well. One little hatchet is all it took. About 100 years later, the Borden house opened up as a bed and breakfast. It had gone through the McGinn family. John McGinn had lived there for a number of years with his wife. No reports of anything strange or ghostly happening. It wasn't until his granddaughter inherited the house, Martha, and turned it into a bed and breakfast, when people came in on a daily basis and started talking about the murders, and started talking about the fact that it could be haunted, that these ghost stories started to come out. One of the stories happens up here, on the third floor. There's actually a story that predates the Borden murders. One of Andrew's relatives lived next door, in a house that was adjacent to the property. The mother of these three children, suffering from postpartum depression most likely, she snapped one day and she tried to kill her three children. She succeeded in drowning two of them in the well before she went into her house and took her own life with a razor across the throat. Those children are said to haunt this room to this very day. In fact, we leave out toys right over there in the corner for them to play with. And it was in this room where I had one of my very first paranormal experiences in the Lizzie Borden house. I lay down on this bed, trying to take a little bit of a rest, hanging my feet over the side so as not to mess up the bedspread. And I started to feel this coldness envelop me, and this electrical charge that filled the air. And I said, if there's somebody here with me, can you give me a stronger sign of your presence? Can you knock on the wall? Can you shake the bed? Can you lift my legs up? And as soon as I said that, I felt two hands wrap around my ankles and start picking my legs up into the air. And it held them there for quite a while. Let's go back on downstairs to the room where Mrs. Borden was killed. In this room, I was standing right in the spot over there in front of the mirror where Abby's body was found. And as I stand there, I could feel a presence pushing me, putting its hands on my shoulders and trying to wrestle me. I pushed back and it pushed me back until finally, wham! It just threw me up against the wall. But I think my most frightening experience happened down in the basement. Let's go on down to the basement and check it out. This is where I've been the most terrified in the Borden house, because this is where I think there's a darker entity that lives in this house. You might go there and encounter the spirit of Lizzie. You might go there and encounter the ghosts of Andrew and Abby. But whatever this darker thing is down in the basement, that's what rules the house. And you know when he's there because you can smell this rotten garbage smell when it's around. And I smelled that smell one night when I was down here, and I looked across the basement, and against that far wall over there, I could see a dark figure, a shadow figure, standing between me and the wall. I looked at it, and it looked at me. And I made a move toward it, and it stood there for a few seconds, but the closer I got, I could tell it was ready to play, and it took off. And I chased it from room to room in the basement for the better part of an hour. It's that dark entity, I think, that caused the murders. Maybe the murders of the boarding house aren't the cause of the paranormal activity. Maybe they're just another result of it. Because whatever this dark thing is, I think that's what made that mother kill her children and then herself. I think that's what led to an instance where a man was running from the police and he ran down into the basement of the boarding house for some reason before the police caught up to him and shot him. And I think that's the reason why Lizzie Borden or someone took an axe and killed her parents. And I think whatever is down there, still to this day, comes upstairs into the house when the spirit moves it. So you can stay at the boarding house if you want. In fact, I highly recommend it. But if you go, you might want to bring a nightlight, just to be safe.